Believe in Wooper Supremacy. Hail the best Pokemon. Already, some of you must be going, but Landorus T is better. And if that's the case, I will have to condemn you to an eternity of hell. Wooper is a water-ground baby Pokemon whose design is based around the widely beloved animal, the axolotl. Wooper, as you've seen, always has a happy expression and is primarily blue, with the shiny variant being pink, just like an axolotl. Wooper also has no arms, but this doesn't stop Wooper from doing the sickest freaking skateboard tricks the world has ever seen. I'm going to talk about Wooper in almost all of the games Wooper's in. It's worth noting I'm not going to be talking about Wooper in every mainline Pokemon game, because the gameplay in those games are effectively the same. I'm also not going to talk about Pokemon Mystery Dungeon because I haven't played it, and because of how differently the game plays, I'm not going to bother trying to talk about it, but I'm sure Wooper is still great in that game. In all the mainline Pokemon games, Wooper has a ton of physical attack and defense. Wooper also has one of the best typings in the entire game, being Water Ground. This means that Wooper only has 4 resistances and 1 immunity, 2 if you took Water Absorb, and only 1 weakness. Of course, it does mean that Wooper takes 4 times damage from that weakness being Grass. But this makes Wooper an incredibly tanky Pokemon that can counter half of the Pokemon. Wooper's abilities also stand out, being Damp and Water Absorb. This being said, you should almost always take Water Absorb. However, Wooper has a hidden third ability, and it's really good. Wooper has a third ability that is great for a tanky Pokemon, like Wooper. Some Pokemon stat changes are very important to the strength of your Pokemon, like Sword Dance doubling your damage. And Wooper's signature ability is Unaware, where if an attacking Pokemon has a stat change, the attacking's Pokemon damage would be the same as if the Pokemon didn't have the buff at all. It's also worth noting that this also applies to debuffs, but those barely come up. This can be really good for trolling people who don't know how this works, and when they see their Sword Stance 4 times Arceus, deal 20% to the real god of Pokemon. Not to mention, Wooper can still buff himself just fine with the Unaware ability taken, and he has access to moves like Amnesia and Stockpile, making him incredibly tanky. Wooper also has access to some of the best moves in the game, through TMs or breeding. Wooper can run a ton of builds with his giant move pool. He has access to some standouts being Counter, Toxic, Ice Punch, Encore, Curse, Amnesia, Rest, Hydro Pump, and Encore. Encore is especially helpful when your opponent thinks you can get away with buffing attack. Paldean Wooper is also a great pick, being Poison Ground, and taking Water Absorb gets rid of Paldean Wooper's water weakness. So overall, both Woopers are 10 out of 10 best Pokemon in the game. To get battle footage from these games, instead of invoking Nintendo's wrath emulating a 26-year-old game, I'm just going to use Pokemon Showdown. It's good to know you can't solely rely on Wooper. Wooper is definitely a great Pokemon, but he does have weaknesses, those being Grass. So I'm going to use both Woopers and some other Pokemon I like. Capiche? Cool.
All my fellas, 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 all my fellas.
Pokemon Go. I don't really have footage for this game, so I'll try and make this quick. Wooper in Pokemon Go was stripped of his type immunity, secret abilities, and diverse move pool. However, not only is Wooper the best looking Pokemon, he is also still the best Pokemon in the Baby League because most baby Pokemon are weaker than their evolutions. Wooper is actually stronger than his evolution, which makes him the best Pokemon in that format and every other format too, because why not? Pokemon Conquest. Fun fact, your Pokemon Conquest save can actually soft locked if you save during a fight against Wooper. This information is very true, just trust me. Gonna be real here, I barely played Pokemon Conquest, but the amount I did play, Wooper is the best Pokemon because he still has the insane typings, backed up with Water Absorb, which makes Wooper the strongest. And with 3 range and a ton of HP to boot, Wooper is insane in this game. I just wish Pokemon would release a new one where you could put more moves on your Pokemon instead of having one per Pokemon. Pokemon Smile. There is no gameplay in this game. All you do is you brush your teeth in real life. No, I am not kidding. With relaxing gameplay, it makes up for the best Wooper design of all time. This game already has the best designs of every Pokemon game. But this is perfect. Also, making the script. The reason all the Pokemon look so good is because they were made by Nanago, the same person who draws Chikoa. Every design is perfect in this game. Pokemon TGC Pocket. Wooper in Pokemon TGC Pocket isn't very good. In this game, you need an X factor to win, like a trillion damage or an unbreakable wall. Wooper has a slow start and not much health. Heck, even Quagsire doesn't have the X factor. But there is hope. While regular Wooper falls behind due to restricted moves and bad typing, he isn't our only option. And Jedi Master once said, there is another. Paldean Wooper. Paldean Wooper has a 10 damage poison point that does 10 damage and poisons the target. This move has 20 damage for your turn and 10 damage to your opponent's turn if we're adding the poison damage per turn. If Paldean Wooper evolves into Clodsire, Clodsire does 60 damage and doubles that damage if the opponent is poisoned. This gives Paldean Wooper some heavily needed X Factor, especially considered with Poison Barb and Grafify, which can poison from the bench when Clodsire can't. Paldean Wooper is the lifeblood for poison builds, considering that in Pokemon TGC Pocket, you need instant damage, and regular poison builds have no way of obtaining that. If you want more damage from the poison and not Clodsire, you can take Nelhego, the weird jellyfish beast thing, who, when on your field, increases your poison damage by 10, which stacks with another one, which you can get up to 30 poison damage per tick instead of 10. If you can get this set up, you just win. With Poison Barb, your opponent takes 30 damage for attacking you, gets hit with 120, and then another 30, killing most things in the game. Your only counter is Arceus, whose special effect is ignoring poison. So you can just forget playing if one of them's on the field. That's the whole video, but I want to talk for a couple more seconds, please. I have 25 subscribers. It would be greatly appreciated if you subscribed. You don't even have to hit the bell to notify, just hit the button, please. If I hit like 1,000 or something, I'll play Pokemon Mystery Dungeon and maybe do a video about it.